In this video, we'll talk about the projection vortice and why we inevitably end up talking to people on the outside in a way that mirrors the conversation on the inside. So the first step is to understand the inner dialogue and how it gets arrested at certain moments of time. So just like a plant, if you can imagine a seed growing, the seed needs water in order to grow. And in any relationship, both parties of the relationship need something in the childlike and adolescent states that represent much of humanity today, meaning much of humanity today is not in a truly independent state psychologically, financially, physically, emotionally. We're in a dependent state of either child or adolescent. And unfortunately, we're in a relationship with other dependent children or adolescents that can't give us what we need any more than we can give them what they need, right? And this forms the place of arrested development, where what's needed in order to grow, love, empathy, encouragement, understanding, validation, appreciation, and just being seen. Being seen is one of the most important and powerful needs that every person has, to be seen as they are. And when both people have a need that neither can fulfill, a attack-defense type of dynamic goes into place, and a cycle, a dialogue occurs that has nowhere to go. If you were a good parent, you would do this for me. If you were a good child, you would understand me. If you were a good parent, you would not expect a child to understand you. If you were a dutiful child, you wouldn't make me ask that you understand me. You would do it naturally like a good child. And it just goes around endlessly because both parties in the relationship have a need that the other one is incapable of fulfilling. And so that goes around and around and around. Now, time moves on, but the conversation doesn't move on. It's a dominant chronic loop in the background, and it's called an inner dialogue because it continues on the inside even as the seasons pass, even as years pass. It's still that 4-year-old screaming and unable and unwilling to accept the irresponsibility of an incompetent parent. It's still an incompetent parent unable to accept themselves, unable to accept the child and where it is and meet its needs. And the thing to understand is that through mirror neurons in the brain, both of these conversations are going on inside the child's brain, the parent and its own voice. That's why it becomes an inner dialogue through mirror neurons. The children are designed to attune to the other, to the parent, in order to learn, in order to grow, in order to survive. And so the parent's voice comes on the inside, and the child's voice comes on the inside. And there's a trance-like state in this inner dialogue that, in many cases, does not get penetrated ever, or for years or decades. And so the question is, how do you resolve an endless loop where two incompetent people cannot give each other what they need in that loop? And the answer comes in the witness. Now, the witness can be a therapist. It can be an adult. It can be someone that loves us. It can be ourselves. We can grow and become an adult in a way that is capable of going back to those inner dialogues and giving both sides that are internalized what they need. So, what does that look like? Well, in the trapped loop that doesn't grow, right? There's a condition of bargaining. You give me what I need, and then I'll give you what you need, or I'm not going to give you what you need because you didn't give me what I need, and it's a bind. So it's bound up within the psyche. There's two incompetent identities talking back and forth. And, so to break that, we need an adult, we need a witness, we need some part of reality that's filled with a sense of abundance and generosity that's not bound up in the loop, who can listen to both sides and validate. You're a horrible parent. A good parent would never ask a child to do this. And the witness can say, gosh, that's really tough, isn't it? And I'm here for you, and I get how painful that is to be asked as a child to be more mature than your mother, than your father. I get it. And I'm here for you. And, I'll be with you in your pain, in your hurt, in your confusion, in your shame. I'll be with you. I've got all the time in the world to just be here with you. And what else is there? My mother made me do this, and she didn't see this, and had this great opportunity, and she just brushed by it. My whole life took a different turn here. Right? And just being with that, as long as it takes spaciousness, with that voice. Meanwhile, the other voice starts playing, what about me, right? The critical parent, that's not fair. I had to sacrifice this and this. Well, then the witness can come to the other side, right? It's not fair that you were impregnated when you weren't ready to be a mother. It's not fair that, the boyfriend said he was going to wear a condom, and then it's not fair that this happened and that happened, and you were going to have this thing, and then the child came, and totally understand it. I totally understand how painful that is. And then rather than understanding how difficult that is for you, your child is just telling you that you're failing all the time. Totally understand that. And just being the witness, being present until both sides of the inner arrested dialogue have their needs met, feel filled. Now, the moment they feel filled, the loop breaks, because the loop is the endless cycle of seeking from an incompetent part something they can't and won't give, and then blaming, and then seeking, and blaming and seeking. That's the loop. As soon as that opens up and there's no longer a loop, growth and maturation can continue. But there is nothing rarer than an addictive, psychologically illiterate, traumatized culture. There's nothing rarer than a generous and spacious witness, than a generous and spacious adult, right? It's the most valuable commodity, and it's the hardest thing to find. Someone that wants to be there. Someone that is there. Someone that has all the time in the world and no agenda and just listens, presently listens to what is. It's necessary, it's vital, it's incredibly rare. And without that presence, either internally or externally, it doesn't matter what its form is. This loop goes on for decades. And the mechanism that we're going to look at is how does someone, how do we draw someone into our inner dialogue? And one of the primary mechanisms, because there's a spiral, it's important to know that there is a spiral. The core of the spiral is the most intense, stuck inner dialogue, which is the most wounded part. Having the same conversation again and again. That's at the core of the spiral. And if people get close enough, they tend to slowly move closer in and in to the spiral until they become one or the other in the inner dialogue. So the inner dialogue, it's usually, in fact, more than that, but there may be 2, 3 voices, but it's a stuck loop. And so the question is, how is it? How do we draw someone into our orbit? And the first ingredient is caring, right? Someone cares about us, right? If they don't care about us at all, they're not drawn into the dialogue. So the first ingredient of being sucked in to an inner dialogue is caring. I care about you. Because I care about you, you matter. And because you matter, I want to be real to you. I want to matter to you. I want there to be symmetry. You matter to me, and I want to matter to you. I want to matter, right? So this is the third ingredient, right? Now, once you care about me, once I matter to you, and once you want to matter to me, now the mechanism is in place to spiral in closer and closer to the inner dialogue. So the deeper the attachment, which is the first state of falling in love, the first state of falling in love is the childlike state of bonding with the parent, which is, in many cases, the inner dialogue. It starts out, with the promise, you are going to be the perfect parent for me. You are going to be the perfect child for me, right? So that's the promise in the falling in love and the attachment. And then comes the caring and the you matter and I want to matter, right? And because it's going to be great when you're the perfect parent for me, when you're the perfect child for me, it's going to be so great. And then that matures into adolescence of, we're going to have the best sex and you're going to have the best sex for me and I'm going to have the best sex for you and it's going to be great. And so the attachment gets stronger and you matter a lot because you're now the projection of the ideal. I matter a lot because I'm now the projection of the ideal. And so we're moving closer together. Now, it's normal. The first way that we make sure that the outer conversation mirrors the inner dialogue is that we pick and we sense that someone has the capacity to play the role, right? So it's very common for women to, quote, marry their father, men to marry their mother. Why, right? Because both the mother and father have been internalized within the child as part of, that process. So there's the mother and the father are having a dialogue inside the child. And it's a little bit more natural for a girl to adopt the role of her mother in relationship to her father than for the girl to play the father role. But that can happen as well. But so naturally, the first step will be what's called a familiar feeling. This just feels comfortable. I feel so relaxed. I know you. You're just like me. Meaning I've been having this conversation for years. And it just seems like you could perfectly play the role. And so familiar of the family, relaxing into the familiar role, feeling comfortable, comforted by the family. I feel safe because I'm comfortable. So I relax into the role. And you can play it. And so I feel comfortable. I put my guard down. I become one with, right? And it's not hard because you're really becoming part of my script and I'm becoming part of your script. So that's the first way that you can enter the inner dialogue without any effort whatsoever, right? The person is picked carefully for being perfect for the role. And all that has to happen is you need to play the role long enough. It typically takes 3 to 18 months maximum, long enough to realize that it's not going to pan out. Meaning that just like mom and dad didn't pan out and didn't live happily ever after, you're not going to do it either. I'm not going to live happily ever after. You're not going to live happily ever after. Even though we're playing the perfect role, we're playing the script perfectly. The script wasn't written very well. It wasn't created by a competent adult. And so the perfect person to play the comfortable, familiar script is a person who plays a script that isn't going to deliver on the promise. Now, this is a dilemma because we don't know how to create scripts of our own. We don't know how to create roles of our own. And so we can either challenge the script at this point and say, gee, that's a crappy script. You're playing it well. I'm playing it well, but it's a crappy script. We need to change the script. You need to do this and I need to do this. But that's a script writing skill. That is not part of the cultural norm, right? The cultural norm is I do what I copy and do what's being done around me that isn't very effective, and you do the same. So if you attempt and steer towards changing the script, both people have to, one, take on a job that they're very unskilled at and very clumsy at, will make mistakes at, and have no idea what to do or how well it's going to work out. That's if you challenge the script. Or you can take a much safer but dangerous route. It's safer in terms of comfort, and it doesn't take you into the unknown, but it's incredibly dangerous in that it will destroy the relationship. And so the other fork you can do at this point is you can attack the actor or actress for not doing a good enough job on the script. If you had psychically read what I wanted rather than what I told you to do, this wouldn't be happening. If you had said the words like this rather than like that, like you did them, then it would be fine. If you had given me the birthday present that I wanted in the morning rather than in the afternoon, well, I know that wasn't in the script, but if you had guessed that and known that, then it would all be fine. There's nothing wrong with the script, and there's nothing wrong with me. You're not reading the lines properly. And so I'm going to get rid of you, and I'm going to find somebody else who's going to read the lines properly. And then I'm going to live happily ever after, right? And so off she goes in a huff and creates the same mechanism, right? Because I feel so uncomfortable with this person. They're asking me to be powerful. I've never done that. I feel I don't like that at all. I feel very uncomfortable and nervous. But this person over here, it feels just like home. Just like home. You see, but home didn't lead to but it feels so good. This one's going to work, right? So that's the first way that we draw people into the script and then, get rid of them and just do it over and over again. But there's another way that we can draw people into the script, even when they haven't played the role before, even when they don't want to play the role, right? When they're not an ideal candidate for the script, there's still a way that we can train them into the role, and it works again. So we go back to the ingredient. They care about us. We matter to them, and they want to matter to us. Like we're the world to them, and they want to be the world to us. Well, it works like this. They're not playing in our script. We tell ourselves what a horrible person we are. They say, wow, you're a neat person. Feels odd, right? I don't think you see me clearly. I'm a horrible person. No, you're a neat person. No, you're crazy, right? Now, what's going on here? They've told you you're a neat person, and they want to matter, and you've told them that they're crazy. They don't matter at all. Nothing they say matters because they're crazy. So they're not meeting their need to matter by telling you that you're a neat person. Now, this is painful. They want to matter. You've just told them they don't matter at all. They want to matter. You've just told them they don't matter at all. Well, that's a loop that is not going to go very well. Now, they may withdraw. That'll happen, right? And then you'll find someone else that is comfortable telling you, what a shit you are. Or they may hang in there and say, no, you're, I'll deal with the pain of not mattering, but you're still wonderful. And, if you don't let it in, I still see how wonderful you are, right? And it gets close, you stay out in this outer orbit. I think you're wonderful. You think I'm shit. Now, it can get worse, though. If we really think that we're a shit and they think we're wonderful, then we may lose respect for them. Like, they don't get it. They're too dumb. So not only are they crazy, now they're dumb. So we actually are hostile to someone that creates a vision of ourselves that is different from our vision of ourselves based on the family dynamic. So now their pain goes up. Their pain goes up. So there's a loneliness. I want to matter to you. I don't matter. I want to exist. I don't exist. I want to be looked at beautifully, and you looking at me as if I'm dumb. Now, when pain reaches a certain threshold, we become reactive. Everyone becomes reactive at a certain threshold of pain. So it works like this. We cause our partner a little pain when they're nice to us. They don't listen, so they're nice to us again, so we cause them some more pain. They don't listen, so we cause them some more pain. They still are nice to us, so we cause them even more pain. And there is a threshold along this line where the pain of caring, making us matter, and wanting to matter, cross-referenced with the blockade of you don't matter at all as long as you're nice to me, hits a level called reactivity. This is when we stop being ourselves and what we're comfortable with proactively, and we become profoundly reactive. And when we are reactive in pain, what we do is we say, you piece of shit. How dare you be like this to me when I'm being nice to you? How dare you turn away from me when I'm looking at you? How dare you make me feel so fucking small, you goddamn piece of shit? And they light up, right? You've discovered it. You're not dumb after all. You know I'm a piece of shit. I know I'm a piece of shit. Maybe you're not so bad after all. Maybe you're not crazy. And the arms open. They are devastated. Suddenly we matter. They're devastated and they're holding on. Don't leave me. I know I'm a piece of shit. I've known it all along. Finally, you figured it out. Da, 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 da. So what are they doing? They're rewarding us. They care suddenly about us because we're talking to their inner dialogue. They care deeply. We matter more than anyone else in the world because we're in the game. We're hitting the ball back that they're playing with. So it's incredible. And they don't want us to leave because now they found someone that makes them feel sane because we're now saying the lines that they used to have to say both lines. Now we're saying one of the lines. And then what often happens is, like I had a partner who would laugh, smile, and have sex with me as long as I criticized her and wouldn't do that anywhere else, right? And so what also then can happen, in addition to mattering and being engaged and getting a decent response and not being crazy anymore, and is reward, hugs, affection. I'll try better. Let's have sex. Don't leave me. I'll do this. Don't leave the dialogue. Right? I don't want to go crazy alone here, and be stuck here alone. You can play the role, and so And so suddenly, the pain goes down. Pain goes down, 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 down. First of all, we matter. Secondly, we're no longer crazy. Thirdly, we've got their full attention, because this can also happen. You give someone a beautiful gift and they're texting on their phone, right? Incredible gift. I've just got to send this text to an anonymous person who doesn't matter to me, and then I've got to do this other thing. I've just got to make you feel as small as possible, right? And then, they put the phone down suddenly, and they're right there, right? And so you get everything that you want, and then let's do this, and let's do that, and then let's have this great sex, and then let's talk till 3 a.m, and it's like, okay, right? That's what we want. That's what we want. Okay, this is what we've been wanting the whole time. You know what? You're not a piece of shit. This is incredible. You're the person that I wanted to marry, right? You're not a piece of shit. Sorry for mentioning that. You're an amazing person. And this is how I want to feel. This is what I want to do with you. This is what I want to do the whole time. This, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm great. I'll get you some flowers. You discount it. I will bring you a favorite muffin, you'll kind of say, oh, thank honey, and, not notice it. I will touch your body and you'll move away. I will say how wonderful you are. You'll give me a weird look. I will say, gee, I really enjoyed what we were doing a few days ago when, I called you a piece of shit. And, you get a slight glimmer. Are you going to call me a piece of shit again? Maybe. But no, you're not doing it. I'm not interested. And then, at some point it gets really, really painful, frustrating. Why are you suddenly disappearing? Why can't you look at me? You're ruining their script, that's why. And so finally, again, okay, you're boring, you're a waste of time, you just yank me up and down, you're so fucking full of shit. Oh, suddenly you got him again, right? And I'm like, oh no, you're right, absolutely right. I shouldn't have done that. You brought me this donut and said, oh, it's so wonderful. And then they give you everything that you've wanted desperately, as long as you play the role. And so in this way, when you really care about someone more than anyone else, you really, really care about them, and you really want to matter, you want to make a difference, they determine what behavior they're going to let make a difference. And if they're unconscious, in a trance, and comfortable with a familiar script, the only thing they're going to let make a difference is if you play your lines. And as soon as you stop playing your lines, they're going to punish the shit out of you, because they don't know how to play the other lines. They're afraid of the unknown associated with the new lines. They're afraid of failure in playing the new lines. They're afraid of all that stuff, number one. Number two, they're still stuck wanting mom to tell them they're a great artist or whatever it is that didn't get told. And you're maybe still not doing that, and they're not asking for it directly because it's hopeless according to the inner adolescent, and well, nobody does this. And so you don't even know what that dialogue is. But they're going to punish you as you take them into healthy, positive territory. Because, in many cases, and, it's very, very common for people to avoid people that might make them look foolish or make a mistake. If you invite something really intelligent, but nobody's done it before, they haven't done it, right? You have no idea how, you've invited me to dance, but I don't know this dance. No, get away from me, Because I'd rather do what I know how to do. I know how to sulk, right? So I'll sulk. Now, you've invited me to dance, but I don't know how to dance. I know how to sulk, right? So I'll sulk. And if you play along with sulking, like, oh, what are you sulking about? Then I'll engage with you. Well, oh, tell me about it. Oh, I know how to complain, and I know how to sulk. Okay, you're playing the script. You're not doing it good enough, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be sulking and stuff. I'm really holding on to my role. And so it's important to understand that if you fall in love and into attachment with somebody without going into what the script is, first of all, you are likely to have the same script, or you wouldn't have, quote, fallen in love and into attachment. And so there's no problem. You both, I want to be a rager because I know how to do that from copying mom, and I want to be a victim because I know how to do that from copying dad. And so, I'm going to do a little raging. Let's see if you smile or if you close down and walk away. You walked away, but a romantic moment across the room. You smiled when I ranted a bit. You thought that was sexy. Okay, you're the one, right? You're the one. So most likely it's simpatico, that meaning the scripts. Then we unconsciously, semi-consciously recognize just the physiological cues that say they can play the role. It's all over their face. It's all over their life, right? They know exactly how to play this role. It's wonderful. I feel comfortable. I feel familiar. And this time, playing that script, it's going to end differently. I'm going to fall in love. It's going to do this. And this time, that script is going to have a different ending. Now, we're not going to write a different ending. It's just magically going to be different. But even if you find someone and you are aware of their script and you don't want to play their script, their script is they're a loser, blah, 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 and that you need to rescue them all the time. And you don't want to rescue them all the time. You see they're perfectly competent. They don't need rescuing, and you respect them too much for that. It's that even in that situation, if you really care about them, if they really matter to you, and you want to matter to them, they can reel you in by punishing you every time you don't play the role. And you watch people's behavior, not what they say. If you ask, like I've done this a number of times, if I ask a woman, do you want me to treat you badly? No, that's the last thing. I don't want to be treated badly. Okay, that's the language, right? But then you say, well, why do you make an extra nice dinner, give me a massage, tell me how handsome I look, when I treat you worse? And it's all relative, like it's a directional, right? So when I'm angry at you, you do this, 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 and this for me. And when I'm praising you, you ignore me, look at your phone, don't do anything, refuse to do your chores, and then finally I get irritated with you, and then you're nice to me again, right? Because I'm irritated with you. You watch the punishment reward cycle to understand the script that people are in and what they're asking for, not their words. Right? It's politically taboo, it's politically incorrect to say, I'm looking for someone to abuse me. And because it's politically incorrect, there's, oh no, I don't want that. But if you look at the behavior, anyone who rewards you every time you abuse them and punishes you every time you're nice to them wants to be abused. And if you don't do it, they will find someone who will follow the breadcrumbs. So if you don't want to be an abuser, you've got to leave that dynamic. Because if you care enough, if you're attached enough, if you're in love enough and I want to matter, and the only way to matter is to hurt them, and there's no other way to matter, you're going to hurt them because you need to matter as well. Or you're going to recognize the dynamic, hello, you seem to want someone to punish you, but I like you. I think you're pretty great. I don't want to punish you. And one of the fun dynamics can be to see how angry someone who rewards you for abusing them is if you talk about it or leave, right? They're fine being abused, but they're furious. No, I don't want you to abuse me, and I certainly don't want you to leave. There's nothing is going on here. If you really want to see a submissive who's attracting abuse be infuriated and go into tyrant and into abuser, step out of the abusive relationship. Suddenly, though, all this passive, oh, whatever you like, dear, and no, I don't mind you insulting me, and other will become furious, right? Because you're leaving the script. You're supposed to abuse them. And this is a very interesting thing to watch, that the only thing that some people will fight for is to hold on to an abusive relationship. The only thing. They won't fight for their future. They won't fight for their life. They won't fight for their health. They won't fight for their dignity. They won't fight for their goals. They won't fight to know what they think. They won't fight to grow. nothing. Whatever you want, dear, whatever you want, dear, right? We'll do anything unhealthy you'd like. Oh, you'd like to shit all over my body. What an interesting fantasy. Wonderful, wonderful, right? But I'd like you to have some dignity and start fighting for your future. How dare you? How dare you say that? Well, this isn't really growing, is it? I think we should separate because I want, suddenly they're furious, right? That you're breaking the script. And so it's a puzzling dynamic. And that can also, by the way, be a suck into the relationship. Why? Because you love them, they matter to you, you want to matter to them, and they really don't want you to end the relationship. But if you stay in the relationship and they only reward you for abusing them and punish you for being nice, even the dynamic, that's pretty classic about the friend zone and the lover being the good boy and the bad boy, right? Even that is saying, I want someone to fuck with me because I'm not attracted to someone who looks me in the eye, brings me flowers, and just says, I'm just enjoying your presence right now. It's wonderful. I like looking at you. It makes me happy. Would you like to spend some time together? I don't know. So I just don't feel it, right? But, someone goes by in a leather jacket and gives me a little finger, or says, hey, cutie, what's wrong with those pants? Why are you wearing those pants, right? Suddenly, I just get turned on. I get excited, I'm being put down, right? And so that whole thing, like, why is the good guy being punished? Well, in the inner dialogue that most people are stuck in, they're not stuck in a good dialogue. You don't get stuck in a friendly, warm dialogue. You get stuck in a critical dialogue, or I do feel unworthy, and I'm looking for someone to help me feel worthy, right? But the person is criticizing me, and I'm in that dialogue. So between selection and punishment reward cycle and having a fit if anyone tries to leave the play, with those three mechanisms, you can largely ensure that your outer relationship will mirror the stuck dialogue of the worst moments of our lives, which usually are a 3 to 5 year old, maybe a 7-year-old, maybe a 10-year-old, but it's usually 7 and under, maybe 13 and under, definitely under 20, right? It's an under 20-year-old with an authority figure of some kind that doesn't know what they're doing, that doesn't have what the younger one needs. And that dialogue is just frozen in time. It becomes part of the I that the ego identifies with. That is me. And I don't want to lose me. And so I've got to find someone else to play the script that makes me look intelligent. Thanks for watching.